Live Ukraine, beautiful and strong. My name is Vladislav, son of Yuri. I am from Kiev, Ukraine. And on this truly wonderful day of meeting of the US and the Soviet allies on the Elbe from the heart of Ukraine, I support US presidential candidate Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. and Vice President Nicole Shanahan. Firstly, we love the American people, Roosevelt, Jack London, Whitman, Edison, brave and courageous fighters against fascism. These people are woven from many immigrants from all over the world. The time has come to raise the banner of freedom against corporate fascism for our future and our generations.
And Franklin Roosevelt, during World War II, said that the domination of government by corporate power is, quote, the essence of fascism. And that's what's going to happen across America unless we turn back this ascendancy of corporate power. And this battle is the beginning of that. Thank you all very much for participating.
I believe that the desire of Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. and his team to end forever war.
And if you look, the CIA is a sock puppet for the military-industrial complex. Its function is to provide a steady pipeline of forever wars for Raytheon and General Dynamics and Northrop Grumman and Boeing and Lockheed. That's who it's working for. It's not working for the American public.
To bring prosperity to everyone makes him, at this moment, the most beneficial candidate for everyone. He wants to tell American people the truth. I want to hear it too.
The problem is not even the control of the parties, it's the control of the regulatory agencies, the phenomena that's called corporate capture.
Secondly, the most totalitarian thing in the world is the truth. 2 plus 2 is always 4. It's totalitarian. It's nothing else. In the West, and here too, the concept of totalitarianism is specifically distorted by the capitalist class and their airlines.
Ukraine today is rendering a tremendous service to Europe and to the Western world, to open society and our survival.
This was done in the 30s, 40s to mix Nazism and communism, while the moment of the liberal totalitarian regime was missed. Substitution of concept is a way for those in power to fight against you, against the ordinary working people. Third, we have many parallels in history. We had our working class democracy, but Khrushchev stole it from us in 1961, and 2 years later, President Kennedy, the face of American democracy, was assassinated in the United States. We had a golden era of dawn and prosperity in the economy for 20 years of socialism, from 1937 to 1957. After the betrayal of Khrushchev and his team, crony capitalism began and the black market appeared. And by inertia, the strong and great country, Soviet Union, where Ukraine as its part was the most prosperous, until it fell in 1989, where the red line was crossed.
What are you doing here?
I just dropped by with present for warming of house. Instead, find you grappling with local off.
And the world balance was finally destroyed.
And it said 1989. It is a red line. That's the year it all began.
There was a golden era in the United States, while there was balance in the world. But with the beginning of globalization in the late 60s and early 70s, the transfer of means of production from the United States to China began, the Deng Xiaoping-Kissinger deal, and by inertia, from the golden era, the United States began to fall into the dark age of chronic disease and huge debts. Now it's the peak of all that horror.
If you look at these other diseases, they all began around the same timeline. You know, the autoimmune diseases, the neurological diseases, ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, tics, Tourette's syndrome, ASD, autism, and the allergic diseases.
Fourth, Kennedy is not an ideal candidate, and that's great. Biden compared Putin to Hitler. I don't entirely agree with this expression. Putin and his team are much worse than Hitler. Biden and his team are much worse than Hitler. Trump and his team are much worse than Hitler. Damage they did to my country is many times greater than the achievements of Nazi Germany in the genocide of my people. And about the recent events with COVID and home concentration camps, Hitler is jealous in hell. Trump sold weapons to Ukraine and prepared for war. Biden uses weapons in the interest of BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and the tycoons from ExxonMobil, Rockefellers.
Now she rolls with Rockefellers.
You know, Rockefeller was much richer than Bill Gates or Elon Musk is comparatively today. He controls, I think, 80% of the oil in the world.
Chevron melons.
It's a riddle. What's the Elvish word for friend?
Melon.
And Royal Dutch Shell, Rothschilds.
Signed a major gas exploitation deal worth a potential €7.5 billion with the Dutch energy giant Shell.
Right now, we're watching a completely devastating and brutal illegal act of war happening in Ukraine, and jump at trying to sanction Putin and his regime and act. Why are we not acting like this when it comes to climate? Why are we not putting the same sanctions on big polluters? Because the war in Ukraine is a war of oil. It's a war of oil because the oil and the fossil fuels that have been funding this regime have allowed this regime to not only get away with what they're doing in Ukraine and will continue to do through the Eastern Bloc, right? But it's given it's given fuel to unstable regimes around the world that continue to rock our ability to live on this planet.
We have Biden here as the navel of the earth. Give money for the war, for the interests of foreign oligarchs, under the slogans of protecting our land. But what kind of land are we talking about if BlackRock has already bought it? Anyone who is against Trump means communists. Trump introduced lockdowns. Trump destroyed small and medium-sized businesses. Trump betrayed the anti-vaxxers movement. Trump just ran away.
She's a little runaway.
Apparently, only communists can say this about Trump. But Kennedy. What did Kennedy do? Revealed the entire terrible essence of modern monopoly capitalism, the endless contradictions between globalist capitalists and how they fight among themselves with the hands of the working class, to the determinate of our planet Earth to maximize profits, short-term profits. Their monopolies should work for the benefit of all people. And fifthly, I think the choice of Nicole Shanahan for the role of vice president was the best decision in the Kennedy campaign. She is accused of having relationship with Soros and having affairs and intrigues. I don't give a damn. She is the only one of all the candidates who raised the topic of microplastic.
Because it's oil-based. DDT and PCB are just a couple of the banned substances we're talking about. Now that these chemicals have entered the food web, it's only a matter of meals before they're on your plate. Hey, who's hungry?
Fertility, the problem of motherhood and chronic disease, especially amongst children and youth.
To serve peace and to help those in poverty.
About men's and women's health, the problem of soil erosion, chemicalization and GMOs in agriculture, the problem of artificial intelligence, the problem of lack of nutrients in food, fast carbonates, etc. I just fell in love. I can't wait to see how she will solve these extremely pressing problems. The problem of disposable goods, disposable relationships, the problem of childbirth. I myself will probably never have a children or a family. But I answer to myself and understand that there are 8 billion children on Earth. I'm very interested in seeing how you can make monopolies work for the public good under condition of private ownership of the means of production. How will they care about consumer value? Regarding soils and agriculture, I can't help based on Michurin's theory of agrobiology. In the Soviet Union, Khrushchev recognized it as pseudoscience, and then in 1968 they began to carry out intensive chemicalization. Isn't that conspiracy? And 1962, the Soviet army betrayed its people. The Soviet army shot its people in Novocherkassk. We need to take the best from the past and build a new world. There is only one thing I agree with the well-known Klaus Schwab. We need great reset, especially for the United States, Europe, Ukraine, and Russia, for world. I think Elon Musk is right.
We should stop sacrificing the flower of Ukrainian youth in trenches pointlessly and do a ceasefire and begin the process of renormalizing relations with Russia. Russia and Ukraine, I mean, they're quite literally cousins. Ukraine have family in Russia. People in Russia have family in Ukraine. They were sort of really part of one country for many, many years. The best rocket technology was when Ukraine and Russia were working together.
The war must be stopped when Ukraine and Russia were together in the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. We built the best space rockets. We were the electrical counterweight to the United States in the bipolar world. We respected each other and competed. I believe that we need to build a communal society.
Then there is possibility. But if we become self-interested, if we become nationalized, if we become sort of, closed down again and put, our self-interest first, our profit first, or, we've seen that happening already in Europe. I hate to say it, but with the distribution of the jabs and various other things, if we start to kind of creep back into those old habits, and those habits will be the unlocking of what we see as a corporate, as a communal society, which is what we need if we're going to survive.
On global scale, because we are really flying on one big spaceship called Earth. We are a bunch of parasites, have taken the main resources for themselves, and are running the whole world with endless chronic fear.
Survival.
In a full-fledged body, there should be no parasites. On February 24, they said Kyiv in 3 days. I'm looking at Google Maps and it only takes 10 hours to get to Moscow. I offer Moscow in 24 hours in honor of February 24, but not to go to kill people. No, I propose to raise the Cossacks and labor red flags and restore the Soviet Union, the democracy of the proletariat, return to the Ukrainian Soviet Republic all previously occupied regions, return to the Russian people their dream, the dream of all humanity, justice and happiness, victory or death. Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. and Nicole Shanahan, the Kennedy team, and those who stand in the shadows, the knights of cloak and dagger. I wish you good fortune on your crusade.